Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I want to talk about World War Z today. It's been 10 years now since this movie came out, and I think it's now time to reflect and watch it again and just admit it, guys, this movie is not as bad as a lot of people said it was 10 years ago. Before this movie came out, there was a lot of negativity behind it because of all the reshoots, the budget that it had. I think its budget was like 170 million or something like that. It's one of the most expensive zombie, in fact it is the most expensive zombie movie ever made, even 10 years ago. And the movie did make its money back. It made over $500 million at the box office, but it still wasn't a major success when you take into consideration the marketing, the ticket costs, etc., and the cinema chains. So it still made a profit, but people seemed to have wanted more. They thought because it had Brad Pitt in it, it was an epic zombie movie. The book was supposed to be great. I haven't read the book. It's supposed to have been one of the best films or the best zombie films ever, and it turned out at the time that it wasn't. But I watched it initially in 2013 and I thought it was great, and I didn't know what people had a problem with. Then I waited 10 years to watch it again. I watched it again and I think it was better now than it was 10 years ago. I was always wondering why Matthew Fox's role in the movie was cut down to a couple of lines and that was it. Usually you get unknown actors to do the role that Matthew Fox had in World War Z, so I thought it was quite strange. But then I looked into it and I realised that Matthew Fox's character was supposed to have a bigger scene, and in fact he was supposed to be one of the villains in the movie. At the end of the film, initially Jerry didn't go to Wales, he went to Russia and he was fighting the zombies in Russia, and he found out that Matthew Fox took his wife and kids and other people to the island. I think it might have been Nova Scotia or somewhere. Took them to an island and they were raping these women and using them as their own, making them their wives and stuff like that. So there's this whole different thing going on. I don't know if that would have been better or worse, and I think that was all scrapped, and even the ending in Russia was scrapped as well and they had to reshoot it, etc. So it would have been interesting to see how that would have ended up, and I think they will have footage of it somewhere. So it would be interesting to see an alternate version. But ultimately, the version that they went with, I think, was the calmer version when they went to Wales and they went to the World Health Organization with Peter Capaldi, Doctor Who, WHO. It was interesting to see that because it was more calm, but I still think it had a huge impact at the end of the movie. As a lot of you will know, the film was shot predominantly, or a lot of it was shot in Glasgow. You can obviously see George Square in Glasgow at the beginning of the movie. I was there when they shot the movie. I was there behind the scenes watching all the zombies run past us. If you look closely, maybe I'll be there somewhere. I don't think I was, but maybe I'm there somewhere. So let's just assume that I was an extra in the film. Not a zombie, just a passerby. Maybe you see me in the background. I didn't think I was going to like Brad Pitt in a movie like this, but what helped me with him was his character Jerry. Jerry was a really smart character. You could see straight from the beginning when he can see people turning into these zombies, he was looking at them carefully. He was counting the amount of time it took for them to turn, and he processed that in his mind. That's the type of character that Jerry was, and I think Brad Pitt was excellent as Jerry. He even got to the points where he was up on that rooftop and he thought he got bit, or he got the blood spat in his face. He thought, I could die here and turn into a zombie and kill my kids. So he jumped to the edge of the ledge and stood there for 10 seconds because he was counting, and that took us back to the time that he was counting. So he obviously was always thinking, and that's what I love about Jerry, or that's what I love about Brad Pitt's character. Something that people don't like about zombie shows and zombie movies is the lack of zombies and the lack of action. You've got TV shows like The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. A lot of the issues that people have is, oh, there's not enough zombies and there's not enough killings, or why does it only seem to happen in this little one area? Why doesn't it happen over in Belgium or in Australia and stuff like that? And that's issues. But then when they watch World War Z, they still have issues. And I'm like, how can you have issues with that when we clearly see there's a lot of zombies, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of deaths, and you see it happening all over the world. So a lot of the issues that people have with other things, they're all squashed in this film because they're all here. Everything that I want in a zombie movie, everything that I see other people wanting in a zombie movie, they're all here. One of the best things about this film is the outbreak. Now, when I watch outbreak zombie movies and TV shows, what they tend to cut short is the initial outbreak stage. When you look at The Last of Us, the first episode was great because that was the outbreak, but then they went forward 20 odd years and I'm like, oh, I didn't get to see that outbreak progress. It's the same with 28 Days Later. It cuts to 28 days later. It's the same with The Walking Dead. It cuts to Rick being in the hospital. And I'm like, I'm missing the major part of this. I'm missing the epic part of the outbreak happening. And that's what we see in World War Z. We don't cut to years later. We see it in the moment. We see the outbreak happening. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying how the humans act. It's terrifying how quickly the zombies become zombies and attack and spread all over the world. Why don't they show that in more zombie movies? I think everything that World War Z does better than most, if not all, other zombie movies, because it gives us all the kills, it gives us a worldwide issue, it gives us the outbreak, it doesn't cut to years later, it just gives us it in the moment, in the now. Like I said before, I did like the ending, the change up in Wales. I think it was more personal because we already got the World War outbreak, we got all the zombies, etc. Now we want to see it in an enclosed environment, and that's what we got. We got that enclosed environment. It felt like a movie like 28 Days Later. It felt like a film that you have to be on the edge of your seat because you want to be nice and quiet, and that's what this movie gave us. It gave us all the big bam and the boom all the way through the film, and then at the end you had that quiet moment where not just the characters had to be quiet, you felt like you as an audience member, you're like, right, shh, shh, shh. This is serious. So the ending for me was great because it also left it on a cliffhanger, but it also left it to be finished as well, so there's not going to be another World War Z. And for 10 years now, we've been wondering, is there going to be another World War Z? Is David Fincher going to direct part 2 with Brad Pitt coming back as Jerry Lane? That was always the rumour. It never happened, it never materialised, but I think 10 years later we can sit back and watch it and go, do you know what? That was a really good movie, and that movie deserves a sequel. Maybe it doesn't deserve the $170 million or $150 million budget, but give it a modest budget. You could do this movie for $80 million and it will make lots of money at the box office. It will probably make over $400 million, $500 million at the box office. So it's destined to be a really good film. It's destined to be a successful sequel. You just need to be careful with your budget this time. Learn from the mistakes that you made the first time. Don't keep reshooting it, and that was the issue that World War Z had. It didn't just reshoot some scenes, it reshoot a lot of the film, so that takes a lot of time and a lot of money to do. So be smart about it, get the script right, and that's why you want to bring in directors like David Fincher and stuff, so they know they're coming into something that will be successful if you record it and don't keep re-recording over and over again. But that's my thoughts on World War Z, guys. I think it's a lot better now than it was back 10 years ago, and even 10 years ago I thought it was great. Now I think it's excellent. So what are your thoughts on World War Z? Do you like it better now than you did back then? Did you like it back then? Did you hate it back then? For the guys that didn't really like it, can you let me know down below why you didn't like it? Because I just can't see why. I just don't understand why. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back!